here with Charles and Sabrina of Hardwork Martial Arts. First of all, I want to say thank you so much, guys, for agreeing to do the video with me.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So I say we just jump into it. I guess I'll start with you, Charles.
Sure.
So how long has this, first of all, I guess, how long has this studio been around?
So we opened officially November of 2018, so just about a year and a half now.
Okay.
So yeah, we were pretty new studio.
Okay. And I'll ask you first, how did you get into, I guess, martial arts in general, if you want to share that?
Sure, yeah. So I was taught initially by my grandfather. He was a World War II vet. He learned Okinawan karate in Japan when he was stationed there. He taught me the basics when I was like 4 or 5, and then I got put formally in lessons when I was about 6 years old, and I've been training pretty much continuously ever since. So
Okay.
yeah, I started initially because I was a little nerd kid. I got picked on a lot, and martial arts is about helping build confidence, and here we are.
Okay. Yeah, I told you before last time we talked, I did martial arts a little bit, sort of in high school, a lot for the same reason, kind of like the nerdy guy, so I totally understand that. And as for you, Sabrina, how long have you, what kind of got you into martial arts?
So I've got a brother who's 5 years older than me. He started Taekwondo, and me being the little sister, I was like, I want to do it too. So got into it. Pretty soon I wanted to quit because I was a little kid and I wanted to play with my friends. My mom didn't let me. She was like, you have to get your black belt, and I'm glad she did because I'm still here doing it and I love it. So yeah.
Okay. And so as far as martial arts kind of goes overall, I know you guys own the studio, you guys teach mostly younger kids?
So our focus, we have a program, after school program. We're doing like a remote learning camp for parents to drop kids off for the virtual start of the school year. So we do focus a lot on kids. We have programs for like kids as young as 3, actually, focusing mostly on major motor skills and mobility. But then we have martial arts programs for all ages. We've taught students as young as 3 and as old as like my oldest students in their 70s.
Okay.
So we will absolutely accept adults. We have programs geared specifically for younger kids, and then as Taekwondo tends to be focused more on younger kids, that tends to be who we get more, but we absolutely are willing to and love to teach adults too.
Okay, all right, awesome. And so I'm curious to know what your overall perspectives on martial arts are. I know for me initially when I got into it, it was sort of a self-defense, kind of sort of self-protection, but I also want to try to protect anyone else that needs it. Now I can't say that I can protect anybody, but as I kind of got into it, I think one thing for me that was interesting is the philosophy aspect of it. And I know it probably varies from age to age, but I guess what would you say is the best value of martial arts? I guess one for kids, and then for adults, is it the same values, or?
I'll
I know that's a loaded question.
intro this.
Okay, yeah, go for it.
I'll intro this because he'll have a really good answer. But like,
Try.
martial arts is really beneficial from the discipline aspect, and like you'll hear that everywhere. He can go into that more. Obviously, there's the self-defense, and like for me personally, it was really like it was an outlet. Like I had an undiagnosed sleep disorder my whole life, from like kid till junior year of high school. I was narcoleptic and I was falling asleep all the time, and the only time I felt okay was when I did Taekwondo. So like it got me out of the house, it got me moving, it made me feel okay. And like it can definitely do that for a lot of people, but I know that's not like a general statement, and so I think he'll hit you with the good overarching bit.
Yeah, so benefits for martial arts vary person to person. The way I tend to look at it is there are 3 categories of martial art. You have sport, self-improvement, and self-defense, and these are your primary focuses. We break our curriculum down into self-defense and sport. So that people want the competition side, they want to challenge themselves, they want just the exercise, they can get that. And then if they want the self-defense side, we incorporate judo and boxing and Muay Thai into our system to make it really well-rounded. But for younger kids especially, to be good at either one of those, you have to master the self-improvement part. You have to be willing to push yourself, make mistakes, try again. So for our younger students, we use martial arts as kind of a lens to try and bring out the best in our students. Whether that best is they're stronger than they were, fitter than they were, more focused than they were, they're able to use their skills to keep themselves safe. It varies student to student. Everyone has their own reasons. Our goal for younger students especially is to figure out what that reason is and help bring it to the fore, along with working with parents too. Like, what do you want for your child? What's the goal? Martial arts is a tool, just like anything else. So what you do with that tool ultimately helps us give that student direction.
Okay. And I guess, would you say that a lot of students come in, I guess to start with younger students, do they usually come in because of maybe bullying? Because I know when a lot of people I met when they kind of got into martial arts, it was usually because of bullying or maybe a lack of self-confidence if their parents sort of saw it that way.
So 10 years ago, 15 years ago, yeah, absolutely. People would come in, get bullied, pushed around a lot. In Loudoun and Fairfax, the schools are really strict on bullying these days. Most of the time, parents bring their kids in from a parental perspective. Kids have a different focus, right? But from a parental perspective, usually it's more about self-confidence. Kids are shy, they're quiet, they're nervous. Or maybe their parent needs an outlet for excessive energy. Right now, everyone's trapped in their house. Hey, we need a place for our kid to go to get energy out.
Or like physical ability.
Or fitness. A lot of kids want to hang out in front of their video games a lot. I love my video games.
Yeah.
But we just finished a workout right before this started. We'll be calmer and more relaxed, and that applies to adults and kids. Usually, though, it's focus. It tends to be like our kid doesn't focus well, and a lot of it is we found. So I'm kind of going off on a tangent.
No,
my college degree is in early childhood education. One of the biggest lessons I learned from that, and has helped my martial arts teaching, is learning how to connect with children on an individual, adults too, on an individual focus. What helps them communicate? Oftentimes, it'll be, my kid doesn't have focus. Well, no, your kid has a different intent in their focus. What's going to connect with them? How can you communicate with that child so that they want to focus? That makes it interesting to them, or fun for them, or exciting for them. And if you can communicate with them and treat them with respect, no matter their age, that kid will do anything you need of them to push themselves to make themselves the best they can.
Okay.
It looks like you're pondering that a lot.
Yeah.
I work with animals, and it's fine because it's given me a really different perspective on people, because we are just animals. Like there's a lot of overlap, even though it doesn't seem like it. You can think about working with individual people as working with different types of animals. You don't approach a cat the way you approach a dog. You don't go, oh, come here, I love you so much, oh, look at the puppy. You don't do that to a cat, because the cat's gonna hiss at you and run away, right? So like, if a kid is misbehaving or just not listening and can't focus, you just have to talk to them in a certain way. Like, if your voice gets too excited, they're gonna get too excited and rambunctious. You have to cater to each individual. So the cat versus dog is a good way to look at it.
Yeah, that makes sense. And have you, for both of you, has either of you seen, an issue that's common with, I'll say with first younger students and then older students, adults that come in, sort of something that's more common, like this issue always seems to come up?
Usually for younger students, it tends to be either physical ability, like my kid needs to either be in better shape or etc. And that's often a lot of just, the kid needs to get moving. You need to move, you need to be more active.
Yeah.
Another part is focus, and those kind of stem from the same source, in my opinion, which is finding a way to connect and communicate with that child in a way that whatever you want them to do, they find interesting and intriguing, that they want to push themselves. Like a parent can drop a kid off and say, okay, go do class, but if the kid isn't interested in doing class, they're not gonna really invest, right?
Yeah.
And you're not gonna get the best out of them, and they're gonna get frustrated, and the parent's gonna get frustrated too. And the instructors likewise gonna get frustrated. So they have the same thing. And so we always go back, especially for our younger students, one of our biggest goals is always to connect with each student individually. Not just like our curriculum doesn't change, but how we teach it, how we communicate it changes.
Sure.
So if we know a student likes to skateboard or likes to play hockey, we'll use that in our references. You know, hey, we're doing this angle on our technique. It has the exact same feel as like a hockey stop. You're gonna push through the hip. And the kid's like, wait, I know how to do that.
Okay.
You know, and then they immediately have something to latch onto, and now they're paying attention.
Yeah.
You know, and the same thing works for adults.
Yeah.
Like, as adults, we've made our decisions, we've become a lot of, majority of who we are. But for adults, we often have a harder time being in a position where we're being taught new skills. Because by
Yes.
the time we're adults, we're experts in our field, right?
Yeah.
You know how your body moves and things. So like if we're telling you to do something and it's uncomfortable, we have to figure out a way to like make it comfortable for you, make it click in your head, like this is how it works. And like a good example of that is we have one student, he's a young adult, he does gymnastics, very physical, he's done other martial arts. But obviously, me and Charles have different body types. I am very fast and quick, and he is a hard hitter. And then like the student, he's in between us, I would say, like physique-wise, and sometimes Charles's explanation works for him, and sometimes my explanation works for him. So different perspectives is always really important.
Okay. And I think I just want to point out too, I think that's we sort of talked about this before. I definitely think that's a better approach. I know when I was growing up, I had, at the time in high school, a lot of friends that did martial arts, different martial arts, not in the same studio as me. But I would see some teachers kind of go, they had a sort of a blanket teaching method. They taught every kid the exact same way. And sometimes it felt almost too aggressive.
Yeah.
Like some kids you can kind of tell this, at least in hindsight, in my mind at least, you see the kid and it's like, this guy, you might need to be a little gentle on him or her. This guy, it's like he could probably, he or she can take a little bit more, they're a little bit more aggressive. So I do like that approach that you guys have where you kind of tailor it if one kid is a background in hockey, kind of related to hockey.
We had a student who, she joined us right before all of the COVID stuff happened, but she has social anxiety.
Okay.
So the first class she took, normally we're very energetic and exuberant, but that made her nervous. So whenever we talk to her, we even just adjust our volume. Be a little quieter, be a little calmer when talking to her. And some kids, they feed off the energy of an louder instructor. So it's an acquired skill to kind of bounce back and forth or adjust to be, that's why one of our focuses, we don't want to be like 5-6 schools. We don't want to have a chain of martial arts studios. We want a small group that we can really contribute to making better ourselves and our students. We used to have it on the wall, but we just renovated. One of our core values is community as family. And so we try to teach each individual student as part of our community, we're going to invest in them. And if you have too many, or you can't adjust, or you can't accommodate them, then your community falters for it.
Okay.
Quality versus quantity. We're all about the quality.
And how many people, you may have said it, how many, I guess, students do you have in one session?
Right now, the maximum we've ever had in any of our classes here, because we're small, we're still growing, has been 10.
10. Okay.
And then long-term, most studios will cap at 400 to 500 students. That's their goal. Our goal is sub 200.
Okay.
So that we can know every student's name, know about their background, know what they need help with. And we try to encourage groups and families to train together. So that way they can help each other out as well and help motivate and practice with each other outside of class. Right now we have maybe about 40 students total. And long term we'd like to double, maybe triple that number long term, but probably stick around there, honestly.
Okay.
We're not looking to, my old boss, great studio, great studios, good instructors, he drives a Ferrari. Like a high-end, brand new Ferrari. His daily driver is a BMW M3. I drive a Subaru.
I drive a Subaru.
She drives a Subaru. It's not new, and I'm happy with that. I'd rather deliver high quality martial arts at a much more affordable price.
Yes.
And more one-on-one and personal, and that's more important to me than making a ton of money. So, small student base is always going to be our goal.
Okay, I think that's a good sort of model to follow.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Okay, and so I don't know. This to me is always. I guess I like this part of martial arts a lot, the philosophy side. I know for anyone watching, they probably. I feel like with adults, it's a little bit different, and maybe you guys have a different perspective. I feel like adults sort of have a personal reason why they do martial arts.
Sure.
For kids, I feel like to some extent it might be what they want to do. I think overall it might be their parents might see something or they have a certain opinion. And so for anyone watching, I'm sure if they're parents, they're going to see it and say, oh, my kids might want to do martial arts or have some interest. I guess for the parents out there watching this, or for anyone, a guardian, whoever, what would you say is a good self-defense tip or technique or even a mindset? I know it's a very loaded question, but even a mindset for a student or a young
So
child.
from the self-defense standpoint, after I did competition martial arts, my jobs as an adult before I started teaching martial arts, I got severely injured, so I spent time in like the hospital and recovery and rehab, so I had a long time to think about teaching, and that's what ended up bringing me back into teaching. But I did security, I was a bodyguard, I was a close quarters combat instructor at Quantico for a while. The goal, if you're trying to defend yourself, you only need 3 things. And technique and skill are actually at the bottom of that list. Fitness, experience, and then technique and training.
Okay.
Even as someone who is 30 plus years of experience, a bigger, stronger person can pose a threat. When it comes to self-defense, keep it simple and run. You got quick feet, bail. It's fine. There's no shame in running from a fight.
Yeah, say number 1 tip is don't get in that situation. And I know you can't always help that. And so
Yeah.
if it does come down to it, avoid physically having to combat that person. If you can run away, run away. And I think a big misconception is that martial art, not martial art, self-defense. Self-defense and martial arts are different. Martial arts is the elegance and the technique and everything. Self-defense is dirty. It does not need to be pretty. You don't have to be Agent Romanoff to take out a guy with a spinning wheel kick and all this stuff, right? He always jokes, he's like, if I get in a bar fight, I'm gonna take a stool and whack him on the head. He's got 30 years of experience in all these martial arts, but use your surroundings. It doesn't need to be fancy. Just get out.
Keep it simple. Keep yourself safe.
Yeah.
Then you can master the art part later.
Yeah.
The words martial art, martial comes first for a reason. Safety first, and then you can make it elegant later.
I love that. Yeah. And I'm curious to know if you guys have had any weird stories. I know this is gonna be a hopefully not too strange of a story. Back in high school, we had a martial arts club, and I found myself trying to be a little too fancy, a little bit too on the art side. I will say I was sparring against someone who did taekwondo, lots of kicks being thrown. I tried to do a very over-the-top kick that involved me being off the ground, and I will say as a male, where his foot landed did not end very well for me. So
I have definitely been on the giving end of
That.
that. Yeah, I definitely took out 2 or 3 of my guy friends.
In the same day.
In the same day,
Same
one
day.
after the other, doing something like that.
I think I was teaching that class, and she laid 3 dudes out with low kicks, and we're like, that's not.
They jumped.
were they trying to be fancy?
They're
They were trying to be fancy.
Yeah.
So you'll see a lot of people from a martial arts perspective when they do taekwondo. You see all these high fancy kicks,
Yeah.
jumping kicks, spinning kicks, and don't get me wrong, I love those.
They're very cool.
They're very cool. But again, we'll go back to martial arts and self-defense are different. Any martial art that teaches kick high because it's a good self-defense skill, don't. You kick high in class because that's hard. It's difficult. It requires physical skill and mastery and flexibility. kick down here in self-defense and keep your groin along with the rest of you
Yeah.
safe. I've learned that firsthand. When I was a bouncer in DC, the first and worst beating I received as a professional martial artist, the only style I knew was Taekwondo. I knew how to kick, I knew how to punch, and I got my butt kicked by a drunk boxer in a bar. And like, I got knocked on the ground, he just sat on top of me. And I was like, well, this is why I also studied judo. So now I know what to do there. It was an eye-opening experience, so,
Yeah.
you know.
That's one story.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of stories, and he's been hurt a
A lot.
lot.
Don't train like me. That is a big thing I would try to push on students. Safety is our first concern when we're here. Like, we have Olympic grade martial arts flooring. We try to make sure our students stay really, really safe.
Yeah. Like,
Because when I first started training in martial arts, we didn't have padding. We trained on concrete floors. We did knuckle
trained
push
on concrete?
Concrete. We had knuckle push-ups on concrete. If you look at my knuckles, they're all messed up. We trained on concrete, knuckle push-ups on concrete. Our instructor would walk by and hit us with a bamboo sword if our push-up form was wrong. My black belt test, you had to hold a horse stance for half an hour. You got it, then left. And then if you stood up or fell, that was before the test even started. It was old school hard. But I shattered the bone in my hand. I replaced Achilles tendon. I have arthritis in my
he
hip.
has no molars.
I got back hooked in the jaw and shattered a bunch of my teeth. I've had a detached retina. This is all from Olympic, high quality, or self-defense based martial arts, and I never wanted my students to go through that.
Yeah.
I believe very much that I can train them in a safer way that will also make them more effective. Like you said, some instructors are too aggressive, right? Old school style was, okay, knuckle push-ups on concrete. Black belts jumping knuckle push-ups on concrete. And like, now, like, it's not good for us.
I mean, you crack, but I've never done that, and I crack everything.
Oh, you're like an old lady in like
It
a
is.
child's body. It's fine.
But yeah, no, I think one thing I want to point out is like, yeah, the safety aspect is like, it's huge for us. We don't want our students to be broken. And like the way we go about that is like, have a good training facility. Like, we don't, like, we want our students to be like really physically able and everything, but we're never like, hey, do 500 push-ups right now. Like, you have a minute and a half to do push-ups, do as many as you can, and we expect you to push yourself. And we're gonna hold you to a standard, but we're not gonna force you to do something that's eventually gonna hurt you. Like, you have like, we have some opinions about like we've got some strong opinions about like competitive sports. Like, even with football and concussions and the helmets, it's the same thing in fighting sports, like where you're actually hitting each other. We really believe that like breeding competitors is not good. It's not good for them, because they're gonna just be like crushing themselves training and like training on broken bones and things like that, and that's not good. That's not good long term. And so we want our students to be healthy and happy for the long term. We're not gonna push that. So.
That's not to say we can't teach people to compete. We're both national and Olympic level competitors, or former. But like, we want to help students become good people. If they do it through competition, we will help them. Or if they do it through self-improvement, we will help them. Or fitness or focus, we will help them. Some schools are competition schools. You train, you run, you kick bags, you hurt yourself, you keep training. Like, we've trained on broken toes, broken fingers. And again, long term, like, my body is wrecked from Olympic level competition. And that was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So-
Versus me, who has for my whole life trained in a facility very similar to this, and I'm fine. Like, I've had one concussion, and like, that was in a competition, and it shouldn't even have happened. Like, I got punched in the face. That's not allowed. Yeah.
Type in a competition, you're not allowed to do that.
It was faulty.
Was this someone intentionally trying to cheat, or were they just kind of reacting?
I have a video of it. People, I don't know, it might have been him, but people seem to think that this chick had done that before. Maybe not intentionally, but it seemed like she knew that it happened really quickly, because she kind of helped me down, because I blacked out. I was out and fell down, and she kind of was like, oh no. And so people I've shown are kind of suspicious that maybe that wasn't the first time she had done that, but yeah, it wasn't supposed to happen. But overall, that was my only injury, and that was like in 2017. And so, like, I've been doing this for like my whole life, and just that, pretty good in comparison.
In comparison to me.
Right? I
And
mean, it's not hard to beat.
That goes back to the concept of breeding good people, not necessarily good competitors. If you're only out there to win, a lot of people you lose the honesty, honor, respect, courage, like confidence, dignity aspects of martial arts when you're just there to win. If you look at MMA fighters, they're talking smack all the time.
Yeah.
Like there are some great MMA fighters that I count also as great martial artists, like George St. Pierre. Like, he is super respectful.
Yes.
Like, you know, he doesn't talk his smack when he went into the ring and fought. He, you know, did his best. You know, and that's how martial artists should behave. And that it doesn't mean you can't be a martial artist and a competitor, but don't just compete to win.
Yeah.
You know.
I agree. Sort of, you mentioned St. Pierre.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to throw this out here. I don't know how you feel about this. I remember I don't watch UFC or MMA as much anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Used to be bigger on it in high school and kind of early college. One fighter, I don't want this to sound like too negative, even though it kind of is. One fighter I used to hate a lot was I know there's multiple Silvas. I think it's Anderson Silva. The one, I think he did a kick one time and he kind of broke his leg. I used to hate him because I agree with the whole.
He would clown on people.
And I feel like when you go into a sport setting, win or lose, there's a certain level of respect you give your opponent or the other team. And I always found him to be the exact opposite of that. He would kind of come in, and some people like McGregor. McGregor kind of pushes that line sometimes. I think he can be a bit cocky.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I do like McGregor though. But Silva, at least, he would kind of come in the very first few seconds and sort of basically screw around with people. But I hated him more because he would win. That made it worse.
There's one of the things we try to, like, every week we have a theme. This week's theme is on confidence, teaching our students about confidence. And there's a basic lesson about it that goes like, the worst thing you can have is no confidence. The second worst thing you can have is overconfidence. It's actually not as bad as no confidence, because then you have no fear. And then the best is to have justified confidence. Know that you are good because you have practiced and trained more than anybody else, or you put the work in. But a lot of fighters of all sports, all competitors, really, one of their biggest initial strengths and what made it when they first started is overconfidence.
Yes.
Which is why even if you look at MMA fighters, they lose 2 or 3 fights, they stop competing because they've lost that confidence. And that's a huge make or break part of any combat sport or any sport, really, is being confident in yourself and in your abilities. As a martial artist, we want to find the line where we can push our training, be confident in it, because we know we've worked hard for it, and then find that limit, find that line where like we can be challenged and know, hey, I know you're good. I'm confident you're good as well as me, and we're gonna kick the stuffing out of each other politely, you know. And if you beat me, you beat me, and then I'm gonna train harder and I'm gonna come back and fight against you. That's how I got to the national level. There was a guy from another school who was as good as me. And every time I saw him, I was like, I'm gonna kick you. He'd be like, I'm gonna kick you. And we did it. We had fun. We ended up training together for a couple of years. And we would just beat the stuff out of each other, again, respectfully, for like 4 or 5 years. And we both got better into the national levels because of it. And that was from like both here in Virginia, from like the local competition tournaments.
I feel like, at least with guys, like, only speaking from the guy perspective, assuming that one isn't too cocky compared to the other, there's almost a sense of camaraderie that comes out of it. Even like at least from what I've seen in fights in general, assuming the two guys don't just hate each other's guts completely, they kind of fight, and for the most part, at least from what I've seen, they sort of settle it, and it's like, you know what, I lost, you won, but I respect that, and maybe become friends almost, or at least they
mutual respect. Yeah. I 100% agree with that. Martial arts, whether it's MMA style, whether you're doing Taekwondo, Muay Thai, Judo, Jiu-Jitsu, like when you push each other physically, you end up with a weird sort of, like, especially when you're training together, but even if you're in a competition against each other, a mutual level of respect. Like, you both gave it your all, win or lose. Like, hey, you showed me what you're capable of. You know, so yes, at least from a male perspective, like, I love training with somebody and getting, like, dirty and sweaty. I'll do judo and roll around, and I'll be choked out, and I'm like, dude, that was awesome. Try it again. Let's see. Let me figure out a way out. You know, same thing for sparring. Someone kicks me, my first response is, hey, good job. Do it again, I dare you.
I was thinking, do it again, I dare you.
Yeah. She'll kick me again, so. And she's only 100 pounds, but she kicks hard.
So I want to ask you, I guess, the female perspective, because I feel like, for any sport in general, but I think especially in martial arts and maybe some contact sports like football, it's almost, the assumption's almost that guys are aggressive and, I don't know, it's a certain expectation that guys will participate in sports like that. I truly have no idea what the female perspective is on martial arts, or I'll stick to martial arts.
Yeah.
I'm just curious, if you're willing to share what the female perspective is, and if there's that sense of camaraderie. Do girls even?
I want to hear this. I'm going to switch places.
There you go. Wait, you're what?
I'm switching places. This is more important.
Oh, okay. Okay, so girls in martial arts. I would say it's definitely, like, societally, it's not the first expectation. So, like, when I walk up to like, if I'm talking to somebody and I'm like, yeah, I do martial arts, it's like, oh, okay, cool. Like, they wouldn't have necessarily expected that. A lot of people expect, like, gymnastics, dance, like,
Yeah.
sports that you generally find more women in. So I guess that's one thing. On the, I guess, again, another societal thing is a lot of things, it's just, I don't know, it probably happens to guys. It's like, oh, you do martial arts? Okay, so you can beat me up. And I'm like, I mean, yeah, I guess. Do you want me to?
It's like, yeah, don't mess with me.
Yeah, I mean, like, he knows, like, I'll do it. But yeah, so I don't know. There's definitely some thoughts, just like different societal stigmas and stuff. But there's a lot of girls in martial arts, and I definitely support it, and it can be really awesome for people who do it, of both genders. But since we're talking about girls, yeah, and like, we have a ballet school right next door, and so we have a lot of overlap, but also kind of a lot of competition, because kids can only do so many things at once, right? Like, I have swim lessons, guitar lessons, basketball lessons, and all these things, right? So a lot of times it's, for girls, like, for boys it's like baseball or taekwondo. For girls it's like ballet or taekwondo. So, there's like a weird overlap / also competition between those activities.
Some of the best students we've had since we opened, however, do both.
Okay.
Yeah, like when I was a kid, I did both. I did jazz, ballet, I did tap when I was little, so, and gymnastics, yeah. So we're doing.
I did power tumbling as well. Like, gymnastics, dance. I can't dance. Gymnastics, dance, martial arts, especially dance, like ballet, things. They all help build the same parts of your brain and body. Your flexibility. You only need 3 things: flexibility, balance, and strength. And then experience and memorization to learn the technique, whether it's a plie or a round kick. They all cooperate and work well with each other. So the students who are best get their flexibility, from years of ballet training when they're 3 years old, and they start doing martial arts at 6 or 7, and I'm like, oh, we're gonna do splits today, and they're like, full splits, no problem. Okay, well, now I don't have to stretch you.
Yeah.
I just start teaching you how to kick, no problem.
Yeah.
So.
Like, I will say, like, some of the most beautiful kicks we get out of kids come from the ballerinas. We're like, axe kicks, they're just like straight up in the air and very elegantly, like, down.
They're like, I have broken the sport.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah. But I guess, okay, it kind of popped into my head. I guess what I'm trying to get out is, like, for girls, people don't expect you to do both. oh, you're a girly ballerina, or you're like a tough tomboy who does taekwondo or something like that.
Yeah.
And you can do both. I did both, and like it's awesome. So that's one thing I would say. On the competition side of things, there's definitely a big difference between guys and girls physically. If you watch the guys fight, the strategies, the ways that they go about it are a lot different than the girls. Guys, you'll see, like they're up in the air, they're flying, they're trying to take each other's heads off the whole time, just like spinning. The girls don't generally do that. We're a little more calculated and like generally. So stylistically, they're different. Competitor to competitor, I would say that they're pretty. I can't speak to the guys, so I don't know, but I would say that they're pretty similar. Like.
There's some vicious female competitors.
I was gonna say
out
there are vicious. Some of them are vicious, but yeah, like you have that mutual respect. I don't know. I guess overall, this isn't just a girl thing. One thing that I would like to see is like you need to talk to people more at competitions. Like I haven't been in a few years now since like 2017, and who knows when we'll be back, right? Because COVID and everything.
Yeah.
But like. When I was a kid, you would sit there next to the ring and you're bored. You're an 8-year-old and you've been there all day and you're just sitting there waiting for your turn. And so it's fun to like sit there and talk to the other kids around, right? And you get to know them a little bit. I had a really good friend growing up. She lived in my neighborhood. And for years, even after she moved away, we would see each other at competitions. And like he said, he was like, we're gonna kick each other. It's the same thing. Like I was like, hey girl, I'm gonna kick you. See you in the ring. Like, and we catch up, and it'd be really fun. But definitely at like the higher level competitions, like states and stuff. Like, I don't know. I feel like they're just there's not as many competitors, and also I feel like we're just more isolated. You hang out with your group, and you don't talk to who you're fighting or anything like that.
You mean sorry to cut you off. You mean isolate as far as just the different studios or the different schools?
Oh no, just like physically at the competition. Like it's not like we're little kids and we're sitting next to the ring waiting. It's like, okay, like your weight class, these are the girls in it. You're gonna be sparring at this time, and then you just go and sit with like your team. If you have one. I didn't even have one growing up for a long time. So yeah, like I wish there was a little more camaraderie. And I think we have that general opinion overall. There's a lot of competition between the schools as businesses as well.
Okay.
So
yeah, at tournaments especially, they have what they call grassroots tournaments, or like Mountain Kim is one of the big ones in this area, and they have a tournament every year.
they're one of like the OG schools.
Like Grandmaster Mountain Kim, Grandmaster Junri are some of the first people who came over from Korea and started teaching Taekwondo. So they held tournaments that, like, they're community building tournaments. Anyone can compete. There's no qualification tests. Like, you can be you can be a yellow belt and go in and compete. And as long as you do your best, you know, they're really careful on like light contact, or if you're black belt, okay, heavier contact. And you'll see people do it. They did. You talk, you chat, you're hanging out with other students. But when you get to that state, and especially like national qualifier and qualifier levels, like it becomes more competitive. It becomes teams versus teams, schools versus schools, businesses versus businesses. Like, and then everyone kind of self-isolates. Like, and she was saying on the business side, a lot of martial arts studios around here, I was born and raised in Virginia, and I trained at martial arts studios. A lot of them are like, well, we're great, and this school is bad, or this school is worse than us, or this school, you know, competes more. And me personally, but we as a studio hate that. Because martial arts is about helping make yourself better. And if you can't show respect to the person across the ring from you, like, I've had students come in and say, hey, I go to this martial arts school. Like, or they'll come in, they'll bring a friend in for a birthday party or something like that. Hey, I go to this martial arts school. Hey, great, do you like it? Yeah, I love it. Awesome, I'm happy for you. You're doing something you love doing, and it's helping make you better. It may be a different curriculum, maybe less on self-defense or less on sport or less on whatever, or maybe more, you know. But we want to encourage all the martial arts studios in the area, whether it's taekwondo, judo, jiu-jitsu. There's a jiu-jitsu place across the street. Like, we want to get away from the competition against each other as businesses and go back to the community that martial arts are there to help grow each other.
Yes.
Your students and yourself. Like, we had a couple months ago, before COVID happened, we had a free open sparring day. We had people do
Here in the studio.
We had 30, 40 people.
Yeah, so
They did
it was
jiu-jitsu.
the
Maryland Sparring Club, yeah.
That's pretty cool.
They did jiu-jitsu,
Yeah.
judo. They had some kung fu practitioners. They had Muay
Lithwei.
Thai,
We
Lithway.
had a guy who brought in like a wood machete. He's like,
Yeah,
I fight with a machete.
It's Filipino knife fighting.
Yeah, we're like,
Eskrima, Arnis,
okay.
yeah. And it was real cool to be like
Yeah.
we would spar and be like, okay, I'm gonna use my taekwondo skills, and I fought a point karate person. She chopped me right in the top of the head.
That
Like,
was funny.
and she's just like, boom, and I was like, oh, you know what? I've never had to deal with. Someone just chopped me in the top of the head with her hand. I was like, cool, do it again, and she did. And it's real cool to see, because most martial arts only compete against themselves.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
when people are like, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is the best. Well, it sure is against Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah.
Or like boxing is the best for punches. Well, sure, against boxers, right?
Yeah.
But like,
You ever kick a boxer?
you ever kick a boxer? You ever get punched by a boxer? Being punched by a boxer sucks. They have big hands.
Yeah.
So I love pushing myself, and we had Nathan show up, one of our students, come in, same thing, like we got to test our skills against students from other styles, and at the end we all shake hands, hug, have a great time, you know. And that's the community we want, where we encourage people to, for too long martial arts has been either male only, or taekwondo was only for kids, or Muay Thai was only for adults. For a long time back in California, Kung Fu was only for Chinese people. Like, you look at the old Bruce Lee history stuff. Like, no, martial arts is for everybody. Boxing is a martial art, wrestling is a martial art, fencing is a martial art. Learn, and they all overlap. There's 90% of the art is the same. Round kick is a round kick is a round kick no matter where you go. Maybe they teach it to you a little differently. But people need to learn in general and use martial art. We use martial arts as an example, that there's more in common between us than there is apart. And sometimes you don't learn that until you're beating the stuff into each other.
Yeah.
You know? And that,
Yeah.
at the end of it, you're like, hey, you know what? That was awesome. And that's our goal, whether it's for little kids, light, soft contact, learning good skills and behavior, or it's an adult being like, hey, I want to know how to take a punch or throw a kick and know how to defend myself. Like, at the end of the day, when I'm 70 years old, I'm not going to be able to kick or punch anymore. Hopefully I will, but like, I got arthritis at 30 from competition. But the skills, you know, the discipline, the respect, the integrity, the honor, the hard work, the, you know, camaraderie you get from fellow competitions and other martial artists, that's what's going to stick with me until I'm too old to do any of the other stuff. And I think that's really the big important part of martial arts. Sorry, I went on a small tire.
It did.
That was-
It
that was
was
great.
very nicely put together.
I have some thoughts.
No, that's fantastic. I do agree with all of that. I think it's a big. You want to use it more for unity instead of to sort of disrupt and
Yeah.
disconnect people. Yeah, I remember when I was in high school with martial arts, we were guilty of that, because you'd have one guy that does taekwondo, one guy that does, like, I think it's Tang Soo Do karate or
Yeah.
something like that. Another guy does jiu-jitsu, and everyone's like, oh, my style's the best style. I can outperform.
Well, and it's funny because we had the Maryland Sparring Club come down, and like all these different styles, like guys are coming in like so terrified because people are grappling and kicking. They're like, I box.
I can't
Do you have any
handle this."
boxers?
Well, yeah, man, we'll box with you.
And we're like, yeah, we'll box. And like, I'm just learning judo. He's better at judo than I am by a lot, but even
I'm not advanced
he is
or
not,
expert.
no, like doing at the sparring club thing, we were going at it with people. He was getting thrown.
I was giving him a butt kick.
He was getting, yeah,
It was great.
same
It
here.
was awesome.
And like, yeah, so like we definitely love that.
We had
And
a guy who did pancration, the Greek wrestling. It was awesome.
oh gosh,
What is
I
this?
didn't even know that.
Pancration, it's a Greek wrestling style. It's, think of like a Olympic or like American freestyle wrestling, but make it a little rougher, more elbows, more knees. You dig your elbow into somebody or put your knee in their hip. It's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's cool though. Like it's cool. Like you come across techniques and you're like, oh nope, that works. Cool.
Yeah.
I guess. Well,
Oh,
that was
I'm
me.
I'm in pain. I'm in pain.
Like
Yeah,
we had one,
yeah.
I got pinned and I was like, this is really uncomfortable, and I couldn't see because your hands are all tangled up, and I was like, why does my? And I was like, hold on, stop. What are you doing? Teach me. Like, so we spent the next 10
Yeah.
minutes breaking down how he got me into this position where his knee was like here, and he was like pulling me into it. I'm like, that's
Yeah.
great. Now I have, maybe I'm not good at it, but I know the mechanics, and now I can add that to my repertoire. And
Yeah.
that's how martial arts grows.
Yeah, like with like what you were saying with my style's the best, this style's the best. Doing that sparring thing was just like, it was great because I feel like no one was doing that. Everyone was just appreciating the diversity. So we
Yeah.
had liftway guys who were like, oh my god, there's this one guy. I talk about this one punch.
Dude.
Big, light skinned guy. Big guy. Just punched someone in the side. I was like, that would punch my soul out of the galaxy. Like,
He clipped one guy and the guy got punched right in the head, and he was like, all right, and he brought his hands up, and he was
Yeah.
like, lesson learned.
and I'm like, I don't know how to use my arms. Taekwondo is my main thing. I'm getting better.
Mhm.
I'm practicing, but like, I cannot do that. But I like grappling actually, I found. And this big dude, he's like, I don't know what y'all doing. I don't like grappling. I'm gonna hang over here with my liftway people and like, we're gonna go at it. And it's so funny because I'm like, in this one little way, I feel slightly tougher than him because I will grapple, but I'm more scared of that because I don't want to get punched in the face. So, yeah.
What is Lithway?
So Lithway is a martial art that think of Muay Thai,
Uh-huh.
but Muay Thai has a nickname called the art of eight limbs. It's elbows, hands, feet, elbows, knees. Lithway is the art of 9 limbs. They also teach specific headbutting techniques.
Okay,
So
yeah, I
these guys are
forgot about
brutal.
that.
Jesus.
Like, whereas I tell my students, I'm like, well, this is where your brain is.
Yeah.
Let's not use that unless you have no choice. They will specifically teach you ways to headbutt someone. But, it's from that same Thailand area. Not Thailand specifically, but I can't remember off the top of my head. Laos maybe.
Vietnam.
It's, but it grew up in conjunction with Muay Thai. Like, you can see they're 99% the same, or steal techniques back and forth from each other so much that now there's a lot of overlap.
Okay.
It's like Taekwondo is 20, 30 years ago was called Korean karate. Like there's even old martial arts schools called Kim's Karate. That was a Taekwondo school. That's because when Japan occupied Korea, they said you have to learn karate. And so Taekwondo is just a newer, faster, more kicking focused version of karate. Karate is just a harder, deeper, I'm stereotyping, but like more punchy version of Chinese Kung Fu. Like everybody steals from everybody technique wise and then always argue that they're the best.
Yeah.
Well, there's no best style. It's just what works best for you, the way you move, the way you bend, the way you roll. Are you strong? Like I got little legs, Taekwondo probably not the best for me. I love throwing people, but I also love kicking people even though I got little legs. So like, what works for you? That's why it's an art.
Yeah. And that it can be best for you, right?
Yeah.
Like, so, yeah.
So it was a lot of fun.
I'm gonna look up that Lithway one because I'm just picturing. I remember from.
I think it's cool. I think
Sounds
like
interesting.
I think it's real
Yeah.
cool. I've gotten kicked in the head too many times to feel comfortable headbutting somebody.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, this guy, he drove down from like Maryland or
Yeah.
even Delaware.
Zen was from Delaware.
Zen was from Delaware, and this guy was an amazing judo or jiu-jitsu practitioner.
Hips for days. He would be like, "How are you holding me?" He's like,
He
"It's
does like
okay, buddy. Just
yoga
work
and a
it
bunch of other
out."
stuff. So he's like Dulcim from Street Fighter.
Okay.
Like dude is super bendy. You're like, I'm gonna twist your arm, and he's like, cool. What you doing?
He's like he's like a grappler's worst nightmare.
Right, yeah.
Because they can't.
Yeah,
breathe.
he's a monster. It's
Yeah,
awesome.
It's insane. You're like, what is this? Is your foot by my face? How is this?
There's a video of him practicing, and he's like sitting cross-legged, like just laying on a dude, and the dude's struggling all day.
Yeah.
And he's just like leaning on him. Like, I'm like, you could be taking a nap. It's cool.
No, for real. He closed his eyes. He straight up would be like, "Okay, buddy, work it out." And if you try to knock off his hat, he grabs the hat, puts it right back on.
Yep.
You don't mess with this man's hat. Like, it's If you want to come to the next one, hope, like, fingers crossed, whenever COVID figures itself out, like, we definitely want to do that again, because
Yeah,
it was
it's a lot of
awesome.
fun. We've expanded our training area by another 15, 20 feet since then, so more room too.
Wow, jeez.
So,
I'm curious to see this guy. That guy sounds
Yep.
fascinating. All right. Well, is there anything that I did not ask that you guys wanted to talk about, or?
yeah, no, we've been teaching for a long time.
He has.
I've been teaching for probably almost 15 years now, professionally, like 6 days a week. And I thought it was about time. You know, I'm pushing 40. I'm going to start a martial arts school. Now's the time. We built our studio around the idea of building a high quality martial art, quality over quantity, and then building a really strong, trustworthy, reliable community. All of our programs we built, because, I mean, you did martial arts, she did martial arts, I've done martial arts. We all, like, a lot of the studios, you pay for test fees, you pay for uniforms, you pay for belt costs, you're getting nickel and dime left and right.
Yeah.
All our programs, all inclusive. You pay one price.
Really?
That's it.
Wow.
That's it.
Yeah, and you get your first set of sparring gear and your uniform free, and like the sparring gear is like
$200, $300.
yeah, a few $100s.
You come as
by
much as you
itself.
want. If we're open, you can come in and train. Some schools limit it to, like, you can only come in twice or 3 times.
That's how mine. When I was in high school, that
And
was how it was.
That's how the studio we used to be at was.
That's how most of them
That's
are.
how most of them are.
yeah.
And again, that's how they drive Ferraris, but, you know, and then.
But we like to see our students. If you can't come in on a Monday, come in on a Wednesday.
Yeah, that's fine.
I skipped Tuesday. No Tuesdays.
No Tuesdays,
No
no.
Tuesdays.
Yeah, and then when we built the curriculum, we made it real simple to learn, focusing on 1 or 2 skills and then really polishing them every rank. So you get real good, but every student learns at their own pace.
Yeah.
Some students have natural talent or have previous martial arts experience and they learn quickly. Great. They can test and progress faster. Some students take longer and there's no shame in that. So some schools in the area will use a rotating curriculum where they're expected to test every 10 to 12 weeks, and then they're forced to test. They're either forced to test or they have to go back and relearn stuff. And that means
Oh, they're-
kids get promoted to ranks where they're not gonna be safe.
Yeah, like they're forced to test when they're not ready.
Okay.
Like, if you don't make this cycle, you're gonna have to do it all over again.
Do a whole new cycle of stuff at the same rank.
Yeah, and what he said about our curriculum being like nice and easy is the fact that it's very, like, again, it's very individual. You're learning your techniques. We'll have general techniques that the whole class gets to practice, the fitness, that you still have your own belt level ranked techniques.
You hit every day.
You do them every day.
Like this wall right
You
here,
can
these 2
test
posters,
whenever.
that is every single technique, curriculum, fitness requirements, even Korean terminology from our beginner rank all the way to mine.
Okay.
So, and it's right there on the wall. Any student can walk in and look at it. We have an app, you can download videos to watch, to train at home. We don't want people to have to be stuck. Like, some students get nervous because they forget something, and their teacher's mean at them. Like, you didn't remember this, you need to remember it. No, hey, I just look it up, it's fine.
Wait, so you guys have an app that shows
Mhm.
that is? Oh, so I want to say that's actually really cool. I didn't know that because back when I was doing martial arts, that was always the worst part.
Yeah.
And for me, it was weird. I like to practice at home because I was.
Yeah. We
that's
encourage that.
awesome, yeah.
Yeah.
We have an app. We're partnered with a company called My Studio. They handle all of our processing for our enrollment, so you can enroll from our website. They have an app where you can watch training videos of all the stuff. It's myself or Miss Sabrina, like videos with explanations. We can upload and change stuff if need be. So, and it has all the same stuff, but along with linked videos and stuff that we recorded. So
Yeah.
we want to encourage our students to practice wherever and whenever they want.
That's awesome.
Like, so a lot of studios are like, you can't learn anything unless you're in the studio. Like, it's our secret. Taekwondo's not a secret. There have been books on Taekwondo since the 80s. It's the instructors that make the difference, the community that makes the difference. And if that community, because of stuff like this, needs to spread out, and you need one-on-one through Zoom, or you need us to like record a video breaking down a technique, we'll do that for you. And then we put it on the app, it's accessible, it's free, doesn't cost anything. So,
Yeah.
you know.
I think this is a good segue into like how we're streamlining everything. He doesn't want anything like slowing him down. He doesn't want to have to do paperwork. He doesn't want to have to file it. He doesn't even want to have to like deal with the sign out papers. So like
That makes it nicer.
yeah, so
Well, you notice we don't have an
everything's-
office.
I mean, that makes it good
Yeah.
for everybody.
Yeah,
'Cause
like we have one tablet, our camp kids, the parents sign them out on the tablet. So they just hit enter, it goes to a Google Doc and it saves everything. The next tablet there is for signing up for trials, and if they want to enroll, we just give them the website and they can enroll from home from their pajamas. Then we don't need an office.
Yeah.
Everything's digital now. Like, let's use technology to our advantage to help make students and life easier.
Yeah, and it's like everything from signing up for our programs to signing up for tests, like, because it used to be like, okay, Johnny, take this paper home, have your parents sign it, bring it back, your test is on
Yeah.
Friday.
They would lose it.
Yeah, and so now it's like, we email the parents, sign up for the test on Friday, like, we
Click,
make it.
submit,
That makes it
done.
that's
Yeah,
way
so
better.
it's like we have that, and even down to simple things like the attendance. So, like right now, given COVID and everything, we don't have it out right now because he'll just do it. But we usually have a tablet up here for attendance. You
Kids
come
just
in,
check themselves
scroll
in.
down,
Okay.
and click on your name. And like what a lot of schools do are have like little scan cards with a little barcode.
I'm not sure how
Yeah.
long ago you did martial arts. They used to have the old punch card or stamp sheets you had to hand up to the instructors.
I didn't.
No.
I never had that.
That was awful.
That's old.
Some schools still use it.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Well, a lot of schools still like they have little barcode scanners, and he hated it.
They get
'cause
knocked over the floor.
Kids knocked down the cards, and like I mean, I would just be waiting for my parents, so I just go through and like alphabetize them again. So I didn't mind, but yeah. So that's another big thing in our pitch is everything is streamlined. And
Everything's included.
Everything's included. We have like the minimum amount of payment plans that we can have essentially. 'cause-
Everything we do is all included. So like, whether some schools will be like you have to sign up for 2 days or 3 days or 5 days, and then you have
Year
like
plans.
year plans, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. We either have month to month, 1 year. That's it.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
all of them are all inclusive. All of your equipment's given to you when you need it, and you come as much as you want. We're not looking to nickel and dime people. We just want you to come in and train and have fun and learn something. And then you mentioned adults. We have a specifically adult only strength and conditioning class. Like I'm a NASM certified personal trainer. So
And what's
we
NASA?
National Association of Sports Medicine.
Let me just say it for the people.
Yeah, so personal training, I use that coaching we revised our warm-ups for our martial arts class for a dynamic warm-up. It helps increase fitness. Injuries plummeted as well. Like, you remember the old martial arts sit, touch your toes, stretching?
Yeah.
We don't do that.
Like doing it cold, like
Yeah.
you're not warmed up.
That's
let
how
me
people
just
get hurt.
stretch your hamstrings.
Yeah,
Like,
so we don't do that.
I've had many pop things and
Mhm.
some weird cramps. You're trying to stretch a certain way, and it's like, oh, my foot is just.
Yeah, we don't do that. We take, cutting edge sports medicine and we apply it to our training, whether it's our strength and conditioning program for adults or our martial arts programs for any ages. And then we have, after school, or we're doing the remote classroom camp
Very
now,
nice.
summer camp as well. And then we're adjusting our Little Tiny Kids program. We're starting to incorporate parkour as well.
Wow,
So
that's really
mobility.
cool. I didn't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did parkour for a while. That's actually what caused me to blow my Achilles tendon.
Don't talk about that.
That was outside on concrete, not safe.
Oh, concrete.
Yeah. So like parkour is a martial art, or I qualify it as a martial art because it's about keeping yourself safe. Getting from point A to point B effectively and safe is just as important as being able to throw a kick or a punch. And we believe basic mobility and agility is just as important as knowing how to throw kicks and punches. So yeah, for our little kids especially, we're gonna have a whole parkour setup in our studio where kids can jump and climb and roll safely on mats and pads and stuff.
And I want to add too, for anyone watching that heard the word parkour and has no idea what that is or can't picture it, I would say if you're a little kid, think sort of like Assassin's Creed,
Yeah.
running on buildings or things like that.
Yeah.
And if you're a little kid or an adult,
Ninja Warrior's
think
good.
of Ninja Warrior. Or
Yeah, yeah.
in Marvel, like Captain America, say running
Yeah.
through
Running,
a
jumping,
city,
climbing
vaulting
stuff.
over
Yeah,
things and doing the whole
exactly.
flips and tricks.
Yep.
Just because I know people like the cool
Yeah.
flips and tricks.
I mean,
parkour is very cool.
That's a better example than The Office. Yeah, jumping into
We,
the like.
we couldn't get away without an
refrigerator box.
Office reference, sorry.
Obviously, but yeah. So we actually, this is a recent addition to our program. So we're, as far as we know, we're the only martial arts school that starts at the age of 3.
Yeah, we're the only one in the area that we know of. We've seen ones that start at like 3.5 or 4, but again, we go back to my backgrounds in early childhood education. So like working with a 3-year-old, we focus on motor skills, listening, some basic martial arts, but it's mostly about learning the physical skills that will then help them develop into good martial artists later in life.
And learning how to listen and sit and pay attention and not like not run away crying, being separate from mom. That's always
Not hide behind the bags of
that's-
the little kid.
That's what I did. Like when I started, I hid behind the bags and cried for like my whole first class. But yeah, so we start really young. The 3-year-olds, yeah, motor skills, things like that, and then at the next like age group, which is up to 6, 7, 6, they actually like get belts. You can actually see them. They're below the main belts. They have little kid belts. And so they even have like some curriculum which introduces them to Taekwondo. But doing our normal fitness warm up, like the jumping jacks and the squats and stuff, it's good. But
Little kids need.
a little more
More.
stimulation, and yeah, and we thought it would be really good for them to like you can have a little kid stand in a spot and all of a sudden they're like, and you're just like, what? Like, I didn't ask you to do anything, you just walked over. And yeah, and so I think we decided that it's really important for kids to not only be aware of themselves physically, but to interact with their surroundings, so they don't flip over and whack their friend in the face, you know? So yeah, so we ordered actually some little kid
Yeah, it's specifically
little kid
parkour equipment for little
equipment.
kids. It's covered in foam and padded and matted, so they'll be safe. But
That's pretty cool.
yeah,
Yeah.
I actually did not know they even made little kid.
Yep, and we actually have a whole second set of mats that roll out on top of these that the pieces Velcro to on the ground so that they don't move, so they're stable.
Huh.
So,
Yeah, so
and then we'll probably also use those for like our judo program practice and stuff like that because these mats are inch thick, but there'll be another inch and a half, inch and 3/4
Yeah.
thick on top of it.
yeah, these are good
Okay.
for Taekwondo. They're
You'll
not
notice
good for slamming
throwing.
people on.
You'll notice a lot of martial arts schools in the area have what I call Dolomer mats. They're pretty squishy.
Yeah.
They're like big rectangles. Those are generally used for judo and throwing styles because they're soft and if you land on them, you're not going to get hurt. But for styles like Taekwondo where you need high speed footwork, you see a lot of people roll their ankles because they're very soft. So our mats are actually a little harder for clean footwork where you're not going to roll. And then the puzzle engagement here, we actually have a friend of ours, another master instructor, he got his foot stuck in the seam between the Dolomer mats because they're straight and
Yeah.
it broke his toe.
Like
Like
badly.
bad. Like he had to have surgery on his foot.
Like
So this
ripped
prevents
his
any.
toe off badly.
This
Ripped
prevents
it
any.
off.
Oh,
not all the way.
but pretty bad. It broke it and tore the skin. And a bunch
Yeah,
of stuff.
like there was blood. It wasn't just a break. Like,
So with these are not straight
Yeah.
seams, so we won't have students get their toes caught in the mats and stuff like that because you're on your toes all the time.
Yeah.
So again, it goes back to safety and making sure everybody stays safe. But so
Right.
we're doubling up on our mats for that stuff. So kids bounce, but not that much.
yeah, we don't want to have to be like talking to mom. At least not that much. Not being like he got hurt again. We don't want to do that. Occasionally it happens, but yeah, I think did we miss anything? We had
I
like
think that's pretty much it. Yeah.
what we do, why it's nice, and
I would say there was one thing too that I did forget to mention earlier.
Sure, go for it.
But I think is interesting. And if you're watching this, you can't really tell just because of the way the camera's angled. But the layout is nice. I remember me and you talked about this before,
Mhm.
sort of the transparency
Right.
aspect of the way the studio is sort of laid out. And I think you mentioned that for the most part, conversations are had in the studio, so it's not like you're hiding things. Or
Yeah, we're members of the U.S. Center for Safe Sport, which is the group that oversees the Olympic and Paralympic, like, coaching for younger children. And they had a thing that we 100% believed in, which is we believe all interactions should be observable and interruptible. A lot of martial arts studios have a big barrier between the lobby and the floor.
Yes.
And they say that's to keep the lobby quiet. Well, I disagree. After 12, 13 years, 15 years of teaching, 90% of the time it's there so the parents don't hear what the instructors are saying to the kids. We believe accountability is key, so we want the parents to hear us. We want them to hear that we're talking about courage or, self-control. We want them to hear us, saying, "Hey Johnny, your kick's pretty good, but you need to fix this so that we can make it better." So they understand that we're not a martial arts themed daycare. We're a martial arts studio. We want them to gain and grow, but we're also going to do it in a respectful, interactive, encouraging way.
Yeah.
And then also we believe that a lot of parents, they make the lobby real small so the parents drop the kid off and leave. Like we want them to, we offer free Wi-Fi. We want the parents to be here so they can hear and see the value that we give to their family. You know, so
Yeah.
that's a huge part of us. Our studio is 100% accessible to all our students. We have a weight room in the back for adults and stuff. Like again, we don't have an office. We have zero space that a student can't access at any point in time.
Yeah, and like trying to start up the studio and improve it, like, I mean, obviously, I'm younger. My mom had to deal with me going through Taekwondo more recently than his. And obviously growing up in like a different environment, I did not have to do knuckle push-ups on concrete, but one of the things my mom said was like, she felt cut off. She wanted to be able to sit in the lobby and observe, and the way that a lot of schools are laid out, it's hard to do that.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, whatever those reasons may be. So yeah, having that
And then it's also nice
barrier
because
not be there.
we want it to be modular. Like for our camps and stuff, we have portable walls that can move and adjust. So we'll use them for games sometimes, but like let's say we have a class in one area and another student needs more one-on-one help or just doesn't like to work in groups. So we can erect a portable wall so that kid doesn't feel uncomfortable. Or we can, you know, set up 2 different training rooms. So one instructor can work with one person, another instructor can work with another group so that groups don't interact or distract from one another as well. Like the whole place is designed to be able to be moved and changed and shifted to accommodate whatever our students need. It's not big, but we can do whatever we want with
Yeah,
it.
That's a great size.
we're doing what we can.
Yep.
You know, as I said before, I don't know if it was on camera, but it's a fixer-upper, but
Oh
we,
my god.
we
The
made-
walls were orange.
yeah, we made
The back
it
room was
nice.
lime green.
Yes. Yeah, so.
Half the lights didn't work. I rewired them myself.
Yeah.
And I'll try to put if you guys don't mind, I'll try to put footage in this as sort of a B-roll,
Mhm.
sort of like we'll have this be the voiceover of the studio.
Yeah.
Just because it's difficult, I know, to describe the studio because from where the cameras are facing,
Yeah.
they're seeing like none of it, and they're only seeing sort of this lobby area.
We have a little, it's before our lobby got updated, but we have like a little tour on our YouTube page that has like the basic outline and some pictures and stuff.
Okay.
And it shows some of our classes too, so just feel free to steal that and
Yeah.
make sure off of it.
Yeah, and I think he'll probably maybe.
Yeah, if you
run
wanna
for it as
take
well.
pictures or video or whatever, go for it.
But,
Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, I'm trying to think, what's the short one? Martial arts studio, Olympic level instructors, get rid of any of the nonsense that nickel and dimes parents or anyone, all inclusive memberships, kids
Yeah.
martial arts, adult strength and conditioning, really little kids martial arts and parkour, and then camps for school age kids, especially elementary school age kids. But yeah, and our goal is to, like, we won awards in our first year for being the best youth sports coach and best camp programs. And it's not because we have a lot of people, but because we really believe in our students and investing in them. That's pretty much it.
yeah, I think
Like,
that's.
keep it simple.
Yeah, that's the highlight, is we like to keep it simple, and we like to keep our community nice and open and positive, and reinforce those good relationships and build individual relationships and know how to work with each of our students and their preferences and things like that. So, yeah.
Pretty much it.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being on the show.
No problem. Thanks for
Yeah.
having us.
This was all fantastic. This is a great interview.
Yeah, we're glad, thank you.
One final thing.
Sure.
What's the best website for them to reach out to either
Sure.
of you?
Oh yeah,
both of you?
that makes sense. We do have a website. It's www.hardworkma.com. And then we have, like, again, everything's online accessible, so there's trials there. You can read about our programs. We have a couple videos on there. We're still updating everything. I am not a wonderful web editor, so it's pretty simple. And our email is there too. It's info@hardworkma.com. Even our business phone number, you can text that and we will reply. So
Yeah.
we try to be as available as possible. Even if we're not in the office, it goes to our business cell phone, so we'll reply whenever we can.
Yeah,
That's
and
awesome.
Facebook as well. We're on Facebook, and
Yep.
you can use
Also Hardwork
Messenger.
MA, and then we also have Instagram. So
You can't
All of it's
talk to
Hardwork
us on
MA.
Instagram, really.
yeah, well, we get some messages.
Really?
Yeah, mostly like one parent. They don't have Facebook.
Yeah, when you don't have Facebook. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
so
yeah.
that's pretty much
So
it.
Facebook, call, text, email, website,
Instagram.
Instagram. Yeah.
It's got some nice videos on it. I don't know.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, Charles, Sabrina, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thanks for having us again.
Thank you.
We appreciate it.
All right. I'll see you guys in the next video. Until next time, guys.
Mm-hmm.